So what you just explained is why I believe athletes go broke. Like you go and buy a Lambo, that insurance is expensive as heck.
Yeah.
You go, you do these things and all of a sudden you're like, bro, I'm spending so much money every month and it's hard to stop and you got no income coming in. So I think that's a problem.
Today I got my good friend, Devon Kennard. He is here. We're going to be talking about his book. We're going to be talking about niching down. But the coolest thing I want to be talking about is how does somebody as an NFL player, a linebacker for 9 freaking seasons in the NFL, simultaneously build a portfolio. Meanwhile, other athletes leave the NFL and they're completely broke. I mean, one of my favorite players of all time in basketball, Scottie Pippen, left the NBA and went basically bankrupt. Why do some people go that route, and why did he go the route of financial freedom? What's up, brother? How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. Thanks for being here. So you've got a new book that came out, and it's Real Estate Side Hustle.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's been going great. I mean, my whole mission behind the book was really, there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me with my background talking about real estate investing. And I've listened to people like you and a lot of other people I respect for a long time learning the game. And it was my way of translating everything I've learned throughout my career playing to an audience I feel like I can connect to more that, other people can't.
It's interesting. So I just helped this homeless lady move into a house, right? And I didn't do the work for her. I taught her the framework. She did the work. She just moved into this house like 4 days ago. So 90 days ago, she's homeless. 90 days later, she is a home owner. She bought a creative finance deal. She raised the capital for her down payment. She got a 4% mortgage. She's house hacking the rest of the house. So she gets a free rent, free room and all that kind of stuff. It's gangster, super gangster. And as I tell this story, the problem is people go, oh, that's cool, but I'm not homeless, so I can't pay. I'm not going to pay attention to that. It is crazy to me how very specific people look at their demographic, right? Like, one, athletes.
Yeah.
They want to hear from another athlete. They don't want to hear from some skinny white dude, They want to hear from a dude that's been in the NFL, understands the struggle of balancing all of those types of things, understands, the challenge of influx of capital that you got to manage properly. You don't want to mismanage it and all that kind of, like, I don't know that world.
Right.
And so there's a massive amount of people that are athletes, former, current, and future athletes that really need to pay attention to, number one. And I'm also not a black dude with like a bunch of muscles. And so there's like but your book will help specific people, which is awesome. And people ask me the other day, why do you keep writing books when there's already real estate books? I'm like, because I speak to a specific audience. You speak to a specific audience, which is why it's fun for us to collaborate so my audience can hear you, et cetera. Okay, so real estate side hustle. I know that's not why we're here to talk about it. I want to talk about your local businesses and what you're doing in Arizona specifically, but that book, if I pick it up, what am I going to learn?
If you're a high earner, like a high earning career, so I was in the NFL, and you're trying to figure out how to invest in a way that is not going to take up all of your time.
Yeah.
Real Estate Side Hustle is the book for you. I got tired of the notion people saying you can't passively invest, and I understand why they're saying it. I've took the time to understand, it takes active investing, all these things, but the problem is I didn't have the time while I was playing. So I had to build the people and the systems in order to be able to invest while I was still playing in the NFL, because for me it wasn't an option of I can't invest actively. I'm going to try, I couldn't spend 40 hours a week in real estate. So I was trying to figure out how to sack Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, on Sundays. So it's like, how can I invest in real estate and take care of myself, long term, while putting myself in a position where I can still focus and keep the main thing. And I kind of figured that out. You got to build the right team and the right SOPs. So that's what you're going to get in Real Estate Side Hustle. So obviously if you're a professional athlete, but really anyone who has a 9-to-5 career and they want to start to build their real estate portfolio, their business on the side, and get to the point where one day you're working because you want to, not because you have to. And that's what the position I always wanted to be in, because I knew that I was in a fleeting career that can be gone in a heartbeat. I was in a race to get to the point where I'm playing football because I want to, not because I have to. And I want everyone who is in a career to be in that position.
It doesn't seem like most NFL players think that way. They think and treat their money almost as if that's going to be around for a long time. Where was the difference in your life? Like, who taught you that, hey, this is fleeting. You need to get into real estate. You need to build something so that when you leave the NFL, you have momentum.
I have contacts. My dad played 13 years in the NFL as well. So I was the youngest of 3. So I got to see my dad kind of post his NFL life. So I knew there was a whole lot of life after football. So I really kind of reframed what I wanted my life to look like afterwards. So I got into the NFL and I had the mindset of begin with the end in mind. So it's not like I didn't want nice things. Like, that's one of the connections I can have to players is like, man, you might want a nice watch. Might want a nice piece of jewelry. I'm not telling you can't have that while somebody else will, but it's how you buy it. So for me, it was like, I'm going to take my earned money from the NFL. I'm going to invest it into assets, into real estate, into businesses. That's going to start to generate me more money. And then from there, I could do what I want with that excess capital. So understanding the concept of delayed gratification and saying, I'm going to put off some of my wants for later. I think that was the differentiator for me. And having a father who kind of went through it, that gave me an advantage. So that's why I've always tried to kind of educate other people on it, because I know I have that unique perspective.
What's your dad's name?
Devon Kennard.
Shout out. Shout out to the good fathers out there. That's freaking amazing. What a great answer, honestly. Like just having a good framework and having a good mentor along the way that you can go, okay, I see that my dad, because I think when you're getting into NFL, you're in your young years. I remember when I was in my 20s, I thought like I was old.
Right.
Now I'm in my 40s and I feel like I'm young. Like, holy crap, I got a long life to live.
Yeah.
So it was good for you to see your dad post NFL living that life. And your dad was in the NFL for 13 years. You ended up going in for 9, which is incredible.
Right.
Like incredible, right? Some guys are in there for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see a lot of NFL players squandering their money as if that it's never going to stop?
Absolutely. I think it's getting better. So players are getting more educated. You're seeing them make better investment decisions. So now it's not just squandering, but they're getting into more investments, but they don't know how to vet opportunities. So they're getting into bad deals. There's a lot of syndications and things out there, funds, private equity, venture capital, and guys, are getting enamored by a pitch deck that, is professionally made and looks a certain way, and they're investing in deals. So for me, it's kind of, we've gone past the level of like everyone's just spending all of their money. Guys are being more intelligent and investing, but they don't have a good criteria. They don't know how to assess investments fully. And that's something I try to fill in. Like, what are the red flags to look for in a deal? What are the profit splits if it's a syndication deal? How risky is this opportunity? You might not want to put $1 million in a venture capital deal that can 100x, but could also go to 0. So those are the type of things that I really try to help guys understand.
And I imagine that in the NFL space, there's probably dudes that have gotten into those circles that are the VCs and the syndicators that know how to go and target these NFL guys that are busy. And they might even be going to like the NFL guys' managers and going, hey, I'll give you a kickback if you can get your guy into this deal or what have you. And I'm sure that there's wheeler dealers that take advantage of the NFL players that are too busy, uneducated, but they know how to put together a really kick-ass deck. And they go, hey, I need $100K or $1 million, whatever else. These guys are too busy, living the lifestyle, which you should. If you're in the NFL, like live it up,
yeah.
Right? Practicing, trying to stay at the top of your game, balance a work-life balance, trying to have family and all that kind of stuff. They don't have time to go look for deals. So you've got I guarantee you there's scam dudes that go in there and they will just willy-nilly take a bunch of those NFL guys' money. I'm sure of it.
Oh, it happens all the time. And,
right.
It's kind of like predatory if you ask me, because a guy doesn't really understand and you're kind of going after it, but it's happening more and more, and it's unfortunate, but it's our responsibility as players to educate. The knowledge is out there. You can go and listen to YouTube videos,
right.
Get on ChatGPT. You can learn what to look for, but you got to actually take the initiative and take the time to do that, and realizing the importance of that. So I think guys miss out, our physical well-being, mental, emotional, but our financial well-being is really important, and it has a huge impact on our lives. And just to kind of ignore that because maybe you're somebody who's not financially secure, or in a professional athlete perspective, oh, you're making a lot of money, so you're ignoring I got it, I'm good, or this investment sounds good, let me throw a $500,000 here.
Yeah, because next month I got another check coming in.
That mindset can really kind of create rabbit holes. And why I think real estate and investing in business and real estate is so powerful is, for professional athletes, our careers are short, and guys get in a position where they have a lot of illiquid investments. So you invest in deals that aren't going to pay off for 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, and you retire and you have no income coming in, but you bought yourself a house, your mom a house, you bought a car, you got and so you have $100,000 going out every month and no money going in, and you're waiting on these investments to come back. So that was my mentality. That's why I started buying turnkey properties when I first got in the NFL, because my mindset, my first number was 10K. I wanted to get to, I was 21 years old. I'm like, if I get to $10,000 a month, that's going to get me a nice apartment. I'll be able to rent a nice car. And that was kind of my first goal, get enough rental properties that covers that. And I think guys miss the cash flow component because we have so much money coming in while we're playing.
Yeah, in their mind,
we're not thinking about that.
In their mind, the cash flow is already coming in.
But when your career only lasts 5 years and you maybe made $10 million, but you got to cut half of that because of taxes and your agent, so you made $5 million, and then you invested 3 or 4 of it, so you got $1 million, and you're spending $100,000 a month. Like,
what would you say? What would you say is the average NFL player's salary? Not Tom Brady's, but like the everyday guy on the team.
It's gone up, but the average I would say is about $2 to $3 million a year.
Hot damn. Okay, so these guys are paying probably $1 million or $1.5 million in taxes plus fees to their agents. So they walk away, let's say $3 million. They're walking away with about $1.5 million.
Absolutely.
And $1.5 million can go real fast.
Real fast.
You buy your mom a house, you a house, you pay them off cash, which you shouldn't be doing. But let's say they go do that, you're out of money that year, right? Or maybe you even go get a $2 million house. You got to pay. That takes you 2 years to pay it off. By the time you get to year 3, you just have a bunch of assets paid off, but they still cost, repairs, maintenance,
if you bought a big
taxes,
house,
insurance, all the things. So you got outlay going, and you're in year 3. You only got 2 more years left.
So what you just explained is why I believe athletes go broke. So, not everyone's making awful decisions, but they accumulate assets and they have investments that aren't giving them any income, and then their careers end. And all those things, like you go and buy a Lambo, that insurance is expensive as heck.
Yeah.
You go, you do these things, and all of a sudden you're like, bro, I'm spending so much money every month, and it's hard to stop, and you got no income coming in. So I think that's a problem.
It's the other thing too, is like people think that we're only talking about NFL players. I think that anybody with a high income job, let's just face it, AI is coming for your jobs if you're a white collar dude. AI is coming for most people's jobs. You got 5 years, 7 years, maybe 7 years for everything to be turned upside down. And so you got to be listening to what Devon's talking about, is that he's saying anybody with high income earnings, you need to look at having a side hustle that replaces your income. And it doesn't have to happen in 6 months or a year or 2 years. It could happen over the course of 3 or 4 years. For you, you were in the NFL for 9 years. You were starting on the pathway of financial freedom like right away, or did it take you a couple of years to do that?
My first off season. So I got through my rookie season, and then I started buying properties right after that.
Bro, you freaking smart son of a gun.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of backstory, I was drafted by the New York Giants. I was in the same draft class as like Odell Beckham and all those guys. We had a great draft class. And I drove my Kia Sorento 2005, my first 4 years in the NFL. It was like I wanted a nice car. Like, my dream car was a Mercedes S63 AMG or a Range Rover. But I said, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get one of those one day, but I'm going to be as cheap as I can now. Single guy. Didn't have to drive a ton to and from work. If I was going to New York City, I was catching the train anyway. So I just roughed it out. And, I took some heat in the locker room, like, bro, get a new car, all that. But, guys were surprised because after.
But I guarantee you there's a guy right now that is broke that was one of the guys that told you, bro, get a nice car.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, after my first 3 years with what my salary was, because it wasn't as much as they are now, I had $1.5 million in the actual bank. And when I talked to my teammates about it, they couldn't believe me. Like some of the other guys that got drafted around me, because they were spending a lot more, but I was keeping my expenses down, buying real estate. And then that's the only thing I was really buying of excess. So that put me in a position to be successful. And as I started to make more money, I treated myself along the way, but with the passive income from my investments.
What I like is the turnkey properties. I don't buy turnkey properties because I'm full-time in real estate. And if I'm doing a side hustle, I'm going after turnkey.
Right.
Because I don't have time to renovate the property. I don't have time to find the tenant. I don't have time to get them up and going. Like, I want to buy a property that's cash flowing today. That's really smart. So in your book, that's one of the side hustles you tell people about?
Yeah, so single family investing, or it could be really multifamily, commercial, it doesn't matter. But I believe in turnkey when you're really busy, because now you don't have to deal with it. Like, there's so much stuff that goes into contractors and dealing with the renovation and doing all that. You can build up to it. Like, towards the end of my career, I took one on that was value add, and I needed to do stuff, but I learned a lot by then. But when you're kind of getting started out and you're really busy in your career, the upside's not as great. But that's okay. Like, you keep the main thing. I buy a good, stable asset. The problem with today's market is that good, stable asset's not going to cash flow like it used to.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've had to acknowledge, and that's why I got heavy into my lending business and started to realize the returns you get in operating a business are creative financing solutions when you are buying real estate. Because if you go and buy a property, like for me, I was buying $100,000 properties. and I was charging $1,300 to $1,400 rent. So if you're looking at the 1% rule, that it panned out great. That's not really happening today. That same $100,000 property is almost $200,000, and interest rates, if you got to put debt on it, is going to eat it alive. So you have to be creative if you're going to do that, and that's where the game has changed a little bit.
Yeah, the game, at least from what I've seen the last 7 years, is creative finance has always been around, but creative finance dominates, especially right now. If you're using creative finance, like you're not competing against everybody. You're beating everybody. But fast forward to now, right? You're out of the NFL. You've been there for 9 years. You built a portfolio of 50 rentals. Freaking great job. You jump out of the NFL. Was the thought process, let's double down on this and go full time? Or what was like your first step out of the NFL?
So I retired in 2023, and I was looking at like, all right, now real estate and business is what I'm going to be doing full time now. So I was looking at it, and if I'm going to be buying turnkey, that didn't make sense at all anymore. I could do value add, but is the risk reward where I wanted? I wasn't sure. And then I've already at that point done a few loans for other investors. I built a good network. I wrote a couple of books with BiggerPockets. You know, I travel, I go to a lot of conferences, and I met some people who are doing projects at scale who asked me for capital. And I'm like, okay. So I lent them some deals, first position, second position loans, creative options for them, and made great returns, underwrote the borrower, the deal, all of that. And I'm like, what if I systemize this and turned it into an actual business? And where I'm unique is I have enough capital base to where I can fund a good amount of deals and control the capital. So a lot of people who get into hard money lending, they're brokers, but I'm controlling the actual capital. I make the decisions. It's my comfortability. So being a true private lender, I can kind of hand pick the deals that I want to do and the terms that I want to set. So, you know, I can cross collateralize. I can do second position loans, first position loans. I can go to the LTV that I'm comfortable with. So my exit strategy is different than the next guy's, because if somebody in Arizona defaults, I have construction crews. My wife is an agent. I have other ways to mitigate it that a bigger lender doesn't. So I factored all that in, and I'm like, I'm going to go all in on lending. That's going to be my cash cow that generates and allows me to scale my business. And on the flip side, I'll start buying real estate, but that's my tax benefits and appreciation play.
So smart. I've been doing lending for 13 years. This year, I will net about $4 million in my lending business. And I will do loans in all sorts of parts of the country. That's not what you're doing. You're focusing on one state. What state are you focusing on, and why?
I'm focused on Arizona, and that might not always be the case, but my strategy is I'm born and raised here. I played my last few years in the NFL in Arizona, and I want to go deep before I go wide. So I want to become a real player here in the private lending space. And there's no one that I know of up to this point that's doing it the way that I'm doing it. So I feel like I have a strategic advantage to take as much market share as I can hold, you know, so, and I think that gives me uniqueness. And then really, I like Arizona's a non-judicial foreclosure state. I can take over the property easy. I have construction crews. So I look at risk mitigation, and it's great for me. And I'm able to do more for my borrowers. So I'm going to go at a higher LTV. I'm going to do things that other lenders won't, because I'm comfortable in this market. So that's kind of my play, and I'm going to build it up until I hit a cap, and then I'll consider, you know, do I just do small balance in Arizona, or do I go single family in another state? And I'll keep growing it organically, you know, as I go. But I feel like this is a business model that I'm going to be able to you know, take the top off one day and get it as big as I want.
What I like about this is that there's people that get into the lending game and they wonder, like, is there enough room for new lenders? Like, is there enough loans out there? Like, why don't these people that are flipping and developing, why don't they have access to capital? That doesn't make any sense. I thought these guys all were rich and had money. That, number one, that's not the case. Number two, I would imagine because you're going deep in Arizona, you feel comfortable going deep in Arizona, you know that there's an abundance of opportunity for you right now to gobble up those types of loans, right? How are you finding loans to divvy out here in Arizona? What's your number one marketing mechanism?
Honestly, I took a play out of your playbook in the sense of community and networking. I go to events, I build relationships. I feel like that's a huge advantage for me. Like, you can get me on the phone. I'm going to pull up to your property. I'm going to leverage my social media to promote what you're doing. So I think those things start to stack up on themselves, and they see that I'm real. I can actually, you know, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't commit to a loan that I can't fund or I'm iffy on. I shoot my borrowers and my clients straight. So I think building that reputation is really important, of being somebody who does what they say they're going to do, and then really showing up in the market, building relationships with borrowers. So I'm working with a lot of experienced borrowers who could get a cheaper debt than me, but it's not as fast. My draw system is a lot easier. I'm going to a higher LTV. So they look at the whole package and they're like, you're paying a little bit more, but if I'm going to get through this property in 6 months, is 10.5% versus 12% really that big of a deal in 6 months?
No.
You're going to make it easier. You're going to, give me a higher LTV. So
the
borrowers
question
are seeing
is,
it.
here's the question for the borrower, right? Let's say you're a borrower out there and you have one lender that's willing to do 10%. You have another lender willing to do 12%, but the lender at 12% can close in 2 days. They can go to the property, give you even some advice, maybe even connect you with some local contractors if maybe your contractor falls out or whatever else. They'll actually shake your hand, look you in the eye, and they'll close the deal. I've had a lot of lenders that are at 9%. They're just brokering like pension fund money. It takes 3 or 4 days to get a reply back on email. You're trying to close a deal in 5 days, which in the wholesale game or the off-market game, these deals go fast.
Yeah.
Like if I said, last deal I did on a flip was a couple of weeks ago. I committed to it on Monday, and I had to close on it on Friday. Mm-hmm. I'm not going with the lender at 9% that takes 3 days to reply. I went through a lender that charged me 16% because I knew he was going to perform.
Exactly.
And if you do that over the course of a year, how many deals will I lose out on because my lender's not fast enough, right? And so the way I look at it is I think that 12%, 14%, or even 16% money is actually cheaper than 10% money because I'll be able to do more deals in a more reliable fashion. And at the end of the year, I will have a bigger number at the bottom of my P&L than if I use the 10% lender.
Yeah.
I'm sure your borrowers are experiencing that, right?
And another factor that I think a lot of people miss is you see a higher interest rate, so you think you're getting screwed in that, or like, oh, I don't want to pay that. But if they're going at a higher LTV or willing to do things that the other lenders won't, you're getting more capital without having to take on partnerships.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're looking at the LTV, or maybe like I've done some second position loans, like, oh, I might charge 14% and 3 or 4 points. But the alternative is getting getting half of your profits of the deal away.
Yeah.
Just pay the extra percentage in interest, and it's your deal still. You just are paying a premium for the interest instead of giving 50% of the upside. So when you start to look at it that way, it's a game changer.
Let's break that down for the audience just real quick. So you've got in scenario A, I find a house that I want to flip. A wholesaler brings me a deal. I say, yes, I want to flip that house. I go to the lender at, let's say, 10%. That lender says, no problem. I'll give you LTV at 70%, 10%, 2 points, whatever. Well, guess what I got to do if I'm brand new? Right. I got to go find the 30% down payment plus my construction costs. So in scenario A, I'm going to go to like my uncle. And my uncle's going to say, well, yeah, I will give that money to you, but I want 50% of the profits of the deal.
Absolutely.
This was literally like my first 20 flips. I had to partner with people that were willing to bring the money because my lender was not willing to come up a little bit higher on the LTV. And also my lenders were not willing to do second lien positions. So scenario number 2, I go to a guy like yourself. You're a little bit more creative on what your options are. And you go, let's figure out how to make this all happen. I have to raise way less money, which means I give up no equity or way less equity to my uncle.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I actually made more money on that project because I went through with a creative lender like yourself.
Absolutely. So I think that's where people miss, like the creative financing in that. When you're working with lenders like myself, you can get more of the deal funded and it's actually cheaper. You're paying higher interest, but compare that to, giving away equity.
Yeah. So I just sold a deal. We made $90,000 on the deal. And I'm sitting there, I paid like $14,000 in hard money costs. And my team, somebody on the team says, one of my girls says, man, I wish we didn't have to give up $14,000 to the lender. We would have made $100,000. And I'm like, dude, you don't know the days where I would have given up $50,000
on that same deal.
On the same deal. And I was happy. Now it's like, it's funny. So my team goes, oh yeah, okay, then the $14,000 is actually really cheap. I go, yes, it's very cheap.
Yeah.
Very cheap.
And
so
that's how that's a mindset shift. A lot of people don't see it that way. So I think
that they're just not experienced.
Yeah.
And I think once you get to like your second, third, and fourth deal, you realize access to quick capital that's reasonable, that will actually look at my situation and help me get across the finish line, as much money as funded as humanly possible. The advantage you have is let's look at a nationwide lender. Okay. A nationwide lender, which you're not. You're a localized lender in Arizona. A nationwide lender is not going to take as much risk on that Arizona house, like you said earlier, because you go, dude, worst case scenario, I go over, take the property over. I got my contractors. My wife can list the property. I know what the hell the property is going to do because I live here. I drive these streets. I live here. I lend money here. I see the activity. I'm in the stream of the flow. You're willing to do stuff all day long that those other lenders would not even. It's like they only fit in a box. And if it's not in that box, the answer is no.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, oh, don't give 100% financing. And I say it depends on the situation.
100%.
Like, to just say like in the lending space, it's like, oh, you give 100% financing? That's ridiculous. And I'm like, when I'm risk mitigated, I know what I truly believe what the ARV is. I know what I can do with the property if worst case happens. And it's a good operator who's done several deals. I think that's very risk averse, actually.
Number one question I get every day is, how do I get everything done? I have 9 companies, 600 employees. We have customers all over the globe. We're doing fix and flips. We're doing buy and holds, apartments, RV parks, all of those things. Everybody wonders, how did I scale? How did I get to a higher level? And the answer is that, go high level. I use a CRM that allows all of my customers to come into one database. And instead of me hiring more employees to go and do all the follow-up, Go High Level has systems and automations that does all of that for me. So not only can I have my employees focus on higher end tasks, money-making tasks, Go High Level avoids all of the extra payroll. When you're brand new, having Go High Level is like having 5 different employees doing all the work for you just for a monthly fee. Go to gohighlevel.com/pace to learn how I'm using it, not only in my lending business, but my wholesale business, my fix and flip business. Literally, Go High Level controls the entire back end of all 9 of my companies. Go to gohighlevel.com/pace to learn more.
I agree. And guys, if you look at like a nationwide lender, right, there's big companies out there. Gosh, I can't remember the name of the company that's nationwide that a bunch of my students will use, but they constantly submit to this lender. And the lender will say no so frequently because they have to say no because it doesn't fit their very specific box. Now, why is their box so specific? Is because they're borrowing money from like Utah Pension Fund or California Firefighters Fund, and they have to legally abide by the contract that they have with that firefighter pension fund and say, we will not lend on anything outside of this little box. So you lend to them, they go, no, 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 no. Then I get these people in my YouTube comments or my Instagram DMs going, Pace, you keep saying I could do deals with no money out of my pocket, but all these hard money lenders keep turning me down. I go, let me guess, you're going through a cheaper lender that's a big box store that's saying no to everything because it doesn't fit their buy box. Wow, Pace, how did you know? I'm like, go find a localized lender, somebody like yourself, that will actually look at the deal and make, like, you don't have hard, fast rules. You look at the deal, you look at the operator, you look at the area, you look at the market conditions, and you go, all right, let me make a calculated, reasonable bet on this, and I'll bring 100% funding to the table.
Exactly.
You got to, this is the solution.
Yeah.
Now, here locally, you're in Arizona, how do people get a hold of you?
Reach out to me on social media at Devon Kennard, and for my business, it's We Are 42 Solutions, so you could head there.
We Are 42 Solutions, where does that come from?
It's really just 42 Solutions, and I'm trying to buy out
let's take them out, bro.
They're not answering. I've been blowing them up. I don't care what I got to pay for it, but they just won't even respond to me right now. So I had to add the
Why is it 42?
42 was my number when I played in the NFL, and it's the number I played it all the way since high school. So I'm born and raised in Phoenix, went to Desert Vista High School for anybody local, and that number means a lot to me. And then solutions, because I feel like I'm providing solutions. You
probably have 42 different solutions, like truly.
Exactly.
Okay, so your game plan. Let's talk like for people who want to borrow money, do business with you. We are 42solutions.com. But let's say I want to start being a private money lender, and I'm thinking, this is the way to go. By the way, I don't know if you know this. I just actually downloaded this. I'm going to show you this. This is really interesting. I downloaded this photo the other day. It's ironic that you and I are chatting. Okay, so all the largest private equity firms, right? These companies that are buying other companies, rolling them up, all that kind of stuff.
I think I know where you're going.
Their number one profit center right now is
private credit.
Private credit.
Well, you know what changed my mind and made me double down on this business model is I was reading Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game, and then Unshakable was his second one. And I connected the dots. I'm like, they call it private credit, but it's the same thing as private lending. Like it's the same game. You can lend to, businesses, you could like whatever you're doing, but hedge funds, private equity, family offices, a lot of them have or invest in these vehicles. And I'm like, so why not me, or why not create my own and build that out? So it's funny that you say that, because a lot of people miss that, but it's such a good cash generator, because a lot of them invest in businesses, like, and they're basing their net worth is high, but it's based off valuation. People don't understand that. Like, that business might not be cash flowing that well. So they might be getting a salary from that business,
right,
but it's not really a great cash flow generating business for them. But by growing the top line, their net worth is growing, or they can say I'm worth $100 million, but the business isn't that profitable. So they're more so selling for an exit. When you invest in private credit, that's a cash machine for you that's actually generating income. So understanding that difference.
You also like, if you're a private equity company, for those of you guys that don't quite understand what private equity is, private equity means they're getting equity in the business, right? They're going and taking over businesses, they're rolling them up. It's equities, right? They're ownership. Private credit is they're going out and saying, man, we've made a lot of money over all these years doing private equity and rolling these AC companies up and selling them off to bigger companies than us. We got these large chunks of money. What could we do with this money? Oh, let's go lend it out, right? Debt, right? So they talk about private debt is what they're doing. It's private money. That's essentially what they're doing. What I love about it is that 50 years ago, 70 years ago, these private equity companies were not doing private credit, okay? And it's kind of changing the way that you get access to capital, right? I can go, for example, we're in the process of, we're going to go build 5,000 car washes in the next 10 years. I could not go to Chase or Rocket Mortgage or some traditional structure and go, I need money for these things. I've got to go find somebody like you.
Yeah.
That is willing to look at my situation that's outside of the box and go, yeah, we'll do that deal. It's going to be a little bit more interest, but yeah, we'll do that type of deal. Private money lending is by far the easiest money I've ever made in my entire life, because you're not finding the deal. You're not managing the deal. You're not dealing with the contractor. Now, 1 out of maybe 100, maybe 1 out of 50, you're going to have to take back because the operator, I had a loan I did a couple of years ago. The operator got brain cancer and died. That's tough. That's going to happen. Sucks.
Yeah.
We took the asset over. I repositioned it. We sold it. We got our money back plus a little bit extra. I want to be a private money lender. Okay. I want to follow in your footsteps. You're going deep in Arizona. I understand why now. You want to go out. Next step would be go to another state. Mm-hmm. Give me one state you will not ever go to. And California. Then, okay. and why? And then give me a state that you're thinking about targeting and why.
California's know their regulations. So California and New York, it's hard. If you have to go through foreclosure, it just becomes a headache. So I wouldn't want to deal with that. I would look at Las Vegas. I think that would be an interesting state. It's close by. I still I want to keep my model as I scale. So my goal isn't to get to a business that's doing $1 billion in sales one day, because I don't think I'd be able to have the touch that I have in the business now. So I want a highly profitable 50% net profit margins or higher business with high touch points. So I want to kind of stay in the Western regions, but I think when I expand to the next state, it'd probably be Vegas, because it's not too different than Arizona.
It's like the sister city.
So I think they would go hand in hand, and between the two and the price points in both places, I could do damage. Like, you can get out a lot of capital in those two states with, the price points. You look at places like Arcadia and the new developments going on in there in the Phoenix area, and then spots in Vegas has the same type of thing. So I think that would be my next step.
I think that there's so much business in the private money lending space that it is incomprehensible. Like, it's impossible for you to understand. Operators, people that are out there finding deals, the last thing on their mind until they get a deal under contract is, where's my money coming from? Like, they're like, go out and get the deal. They're watching my YouTube channel. They're watching Jamil's channel, Brent's channel, Jerry's channel. They go get a deal under contract and they go, oh crap, I need money.
Yeah.
So last year, we pulled data. I own a title company in 43 states, and we pulled some data, and the data said that 85% of fix and flippers don't have their money lined up until they have the house in escrow. Okay. How many flips were done last year? It was a little over 500,000 properties were flipped last year. 85% of those people did not have their money lined up before they opened escrow. So what does that tell you? You have endless opportunity. Endless opportunity. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just call title companies and go, hey, you ever get a wholesaler or fix and flipper that is short on cash? Please give them my phone number. I want to make sure you guys get more files all the way through escrow, and money's not the issue for your clients. Please let your clients know. Boom, 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 boom.
Direct alignment with title companies and wholesalers would give me enough business.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Now, for you, let's say you expand to Vegas, right? You probably have more. You probably have more business in Arizona than you could ever handle. Do you ever plan on hiring like a salesperson or somebody going out and doing that for you? Or do you always want to be the guy that's talking to the borrower and building that relationship?
Again, before we got on, we were talking about what you've built with your community. I feel like I don't want to spend a lot on marketing. Like I want my marketing to be what I do with content, and I want to kind of be out in the market, going to events and building the relationships, and that kind of compounds on itself. Good reputation, being a good person, doing what you say you're going to do, and then putting out like relevant content. Like for me, I'm putting out content of what I'm doing in my business and how things are operating. And I think it's gaining traction and people are respecting it. So I don't really plan on getting a salesperson. I'll probably have a processor who's helping me underwrite the deals as more and more volume comes on. So it'll be more admin and back end support. So I can continue to be front facing with my borrowers, with potential investors, front face that way, and have operations behind me handling the admin. So it's all packaged together, and I could look at the loan and be like, oh, I know this borrower, this situation, this deal. Yes, let's do this, and be able to make final decisions faster without having to do the data collection and filing and coordination.
I love that. So what's crazy is the other great thing about private money lending is you see all the great deals and the great operators. So when you decide, let's say you have an operator that's out there wholesaling, they're marketing, they're getting houses under contract, they kind of cherry pick which houses they want to flip and then what houses they want to wholesale. You build a relationship with them from a finance standpoint. You start seeing their deal flow and things they're submitting. You're like, man, this person finds good deals. It also then becomes your secondary income by you going, let me buy one of your deals every 6 months. Like you don't have to have an acquisition department because your operators who are borrowing your money is your acquisition
department.
Relationships
with investors, contractors, the whole bit. So I'm aggressively focused on my lending business now. But when that is spitting out excess capital that I can't or don't want to always deploy, or I need the tax benefits and I want to invest for appreciation with real estate, I'm going to use the relationships I'm building here to go and buy properties and scale that up as well. So it goes hand in hand, and it's kind of working smarter, not harder, to where I'm building these relationships and I could turn on at any point purchasing options for myself and be like, hey, let me buy a couple of deals myself, and I have the lending source in house. So good. It creates a flywheel that is going to be hard to stop when that momentum gets there.
What do you feel like you need more of next?
Next step, I'm building banking relationships. And one thing we didn't touch on is while I was playing, I did invest in a lot of syndications as well. So I have well into dang near 8 figures in syndication investments. So I can't wait till that money comes back. Because I'm seeing what it can do inside. It's not that I regret doing it, because I felt like it was appropriate with where I was at knowledge wise. But like now with what I'm doing now and the direction I'm headed and being in real estate and business full time, I'm like, I can't wait till that capital gets back to deploy it. So it's freeing up that capital, banking relationships where I can get line of credits based on my business. I don't want them to control my loan terms though. So it's like I'm talking with banks now, like you have to give me a line of credit based on my balance sheet, but you're not going to tell me the LTV and I got to get an appraisal. I don't want that. So I'm in talks with a couple of local banks that are playing ball right now and will give me 50, 60% LTV on my balance sheet within the lending company. So that gives me extra purchasing power at 7%.
That's so good.
So if I have a bank who's going to be hands off,
now you're arbitraging at 12% plus a couple of points, like you're making significant money.
So between liquidating syndications and establishing that line of credit relationship, that's going to take me to the next level. And at that point, the flywheel is going. It's going to be easier and easier to raise money. I think I'll be able to do what I want once I hit that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let's talk about this for a second. So I have a syndication I put money into that I should be getting about. I'll get my basis back, my $2 million original investment, plus my money's doubled. Okay, over the course of 5 years. So my IRR, my internal rate of return, somewhere around 20%. Okay. Which means I put in $2 million and over 5 years, I'm getting basically 20% a year on average. And I'm going to walk away after this 5 years with an extra $2 million. So I'm going to get $4 million liquidated. Yeah. Okay. For 99% of people, that's great.
Absolutely.
A 20% return is great. However, If I took that same $2 million and I put that into my lending business, I'm making like 35, 40% because I'm turning my money multiple times.
The velocity of money and the cash flow along the way. So that's what I've learned now, to where even my syndications that have performed great in comparison to what I'm doing now, it still doesn't add up because I'm locking this up for 3 years. 3 years is about the minimum that most deals, your money is going to be locked up. But 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, what have you. And even if it performs exactly how expected or better, because I can't refinance, you can't really do anything with that. You just have to wait.
Yeah.
If the velocity of money was in my operation now, I would make more, even in the best case scenario. So once I realized that, I'm like, I can't wait till that money gets back, and I'm not investing in syndications anymore.
Good point. So like, let's say I invest in a syndication, like a multifamily or a mobile home park syndication, and I put $1 million in, and they give me a 7% preferred return. Well, that means I'm going to get what, $70,000 that year, right? 7%. So I'll have access to that $70,000 to then deploy and compound. But the thing about if you had $1 million in your lending business, I'm turning my money multiple times, not only points, but doc fees. I'm getting
processing fee, whatever,
all the things. So your average return on your $1 million is probably closer to like 20%, but you're getting it faster. So your compound effect is $200,000 reinvested in my business every year. Compound that over 5 years versus $70,000 every single year.
And then stack on the payments are monthly.
Yeah.
So if they're paying monthly, you're getting, like I charge 12%, so 1% a month of what they owed you. So if you're reinvesting that, you get to compound monthly. So you start to really compare it, and it doesn't compare. And then that's assuming that syndication never stops paying the dividends, because a lot of them, when things get a little tight, interest rates have gone up.
Years.
A lot of them, even if they're going to be okay, they're like, we're going to suspend distribution. So now it's like that money's accumulating technically, but you're not getting it. So that's $70,000 a year that you're like, oh, I'm setting away. In my case, I'm like, I'm glad I started doing this. I'd be pissed because some of my syndications have suspended the distributions. I'm like, if I was counting on that money, I'd be in a hot spot. So when you factor all that in, if you can create a vehicle for yourself in business that is generating a double-digit return on your money, it is better than investing in syndications. And a lot of people don't realize that, because they see like 20% IRR, 15%, whatever the IRR. And it's like, even if we're looking at 15% return versus 15% return, they don't add up the same because the compound effect.
And the access to capital, which creates that, 100%. And I think people that are making a decision like, okay, well, I'm listening to this podcast, what should I be taking away from this? If you're a busy professional that you don't have time to go out and do a private money lending, there's a couple of things you could do. Number one, go invest in a syndication, right? I have a syndication. We've never stopped distributions. We have one, but that's for people that are like doctors, lawyers, people that are like, I literally will never take 1 minute to underwrite a deal, look at a deal, but I need to have some tax benefits. I need to have some cash flow. I need to have my money parked somewhere other than some stupid self-directed IRA.
For that person, turnkey properties and syndications are a great option.
Right, with good operators. Or the second thing is, I could go to you. I could go to you and go, hey, I've got $1 million. Will you pay me 8%? And you'd probably pay me 8%.
Yeah.
Right? I'm getting 8%. I give you $1 million. You go out and arbitrage it at 12% plus 2 points. You're making a spread. You're taking my money and you're expanding your empire. I could do that passively as long as I trusted you.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so if you wanted to get into private money lending at some point, a smart thing would maybe even call them up and go, hey, I got $1 million to deploy. I want to help you grow your business. And at some point in 3 years, I want to get my $1 million back, and I'll go do some of my own lending on my own. Good place to go park your money. I do the same thing. I instead of me going to banks, I'm not at that point yet. I should be. Now that now I listen to you talking about banks, I primarily just go to investors that are too busy and go, I'll pay you 8, 9, 10%, and I'll pay you when the money's deployed. I'll deploy the money. I'm going to take a 4% spread plus 2 points. That goes to me. The rest of it goes to you. And they get to see the deals, which I think is probably the biggest benefit of giving somebody like him $1 million, is because you get to see what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to.
Absolutely.
freaking huge.
Yeah, you get direct access and to the deals. And some of my investors that I've worked with, I'm open with sharing, what my criteria is, what I look at. So I'll teach them how to do it, because I think we got to enable more people. It's a creative financing solution. Like
Right.
you can do this if you're a high net worth individual, it's not that complicated to do a couple of loans. Even if you have $300,000-$400,000 that you'd like to put out on the street and make 12 to 15% annualized, like you can learn this and put your own money out there. So even some people who've wanted to invest with me, it's like, I'll teach you how I'm doing it. Do it in your market. You know?
I don't think there's a better dollar I've ever made in my life than private money lending. Like, it's just the greatest thing ever. I don't have to find the deal, manage the deal with the contractor, wonder whether the contractor's showing up or not. I don't care if they make $80,000 on the property or $800,000 on the property. I am in first lien position, or I'm secure against the property. I can take it back over, worst case scenario. I get paid no matter freaking what that fix and flipper makes, as long as I did my due diligence properly. So
show me a better risk-adjusted return.
I don't know one. And it also compounds your relationships in your local market. You can go deep. You can get access to it. It is the cheat code that a lot of people are afraid to jump into. I'm glad that we're talking about it today. So for you, your next step is banking relationships, maybe even bringing on some other people from our audience, potentially giving you some money to expand. Anything else that you're looking for?
I would say that's that's my main key, and then from there I'll start buying again. But I want to keep the main thing for a while. So that's the lending company. I want to really be a staple here in the Valley, and then once I feel like I'm at the point where it's grown substantially, then I'm going to start going on buying sprees and using creative financing solutions to buy properties, and that's going to be my wealth builder. Because the one disadvantage we didn't talk about is it is taxable. When you're lending, it's taxable. But some people chase the tax dog and they don't realize you're making more money though. So it's like you got to pay taxes on it. But would you rather be in an investment that maybe isn't cash flowing nearly as much, but you get tax benefits? So for me, it's like, I'm going to have to pay the taxes I'm going to have to pay. I might do cost segs on properties as I buy along the way, but I'm just going to pay taxes while I'm building it. And then when it's where I want it, I'll start buying properties, cost seg them up, and take the tax benefits, and then really profit that way too.
Yeah, you're doing it the right way in the sense of, let's have a goal of paying taxes. Like, I'd rather go out and have a goal of paying taxes, because that means I have active income. Once I have active income and the main thing is the main thing, I can then make a decision of, hey, let me go buy some properties to lower this tax burden. But people start going, oh, that's not a great strategy because I'm going to have active income and it's going to be taxable. Bro, that's what
you don't want to make the money?
If you have a big tax bill, that's a good problem to have. And you've got, then you
can start to solve it.
Right. And I see other people that are like in my YouTube comments going, so like the reason I don't want to start wholesaling or doing X, Y, and Z because I don't want to pay 40% in taxes. And I'm like, solve that problem when you freaking get there. Okay, so your book, I know you're not here to promote it. I know you wrote it with BiggerPockets. I wrote my book with BiggerPockets as well. Shout out to BiggerPockets. They're awesome. The best place to find that is on Amazon.
Amazon. You can go to my website as well. So DevonKennard.com. I have my personal website where I talk a lot about this kind of stuff. And Amazon or my website.
Freaking awesome. Any advice for people that are out there? Let's say they're stuck. They're in the audience. They have analysis paralysis and they're stuck. Is there any advice you have for those people? Anything in your book that would help them out? Chapter 4 says blah, blah, blah. Chapter 5 says whatever. Any advice?
I'll speak to the high net worth individuals. I feel like that's the audience I connect with the most. So if you're a doctor, a lawyer, you make, you have your own business, you make a lot of money, take one bite at a time. You could really start to build a portfolio of investing in stuff in real estate and in business. But the biggest thing is building out SOPs and building your team. So, when I was buying turnkey properties, I made sure I had the core 4. They used to talk about it all the time on BiggerPockets. It's like, you got to have your property manager, your contractor, your deal finder, and your lender. If you have that, you can really invest anywhere. And I know you own stuff everywhere, so I'm sure you would agree to that to some degree. Like, know where you're getting the money, who's helping you find it, who's going to manage it because you're not probably doing the day-to-day, and who's the contractor that's going to fix it up. So when you realize, when you break it down into what you actually need to do to start to buy, or if it's investing in syndications, what is the criteria? What are the red flags? What's the fee structure that is acceptable versus they're trying to screw me over, they're charging too much? Well, what are red flags in the business model? So understanding that, which is really easy to kind of get over that hump, and you can start to invest passively in real estate and in business. And if you want to learn more, check out my book, Real Estate Side Hustle. And if you're interested in private credit, private lending, then reach out.
Okay, and your Instagram one more time?
Devon Kennard. So at Devon Kennard.
Bro, thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Give this man some love in his Instagram. Go DM him and say, man, how do I give you some access to my capital? How do I get in the game by giving you some of my money? I'm afraid to go out and do my own loans. Maybe give this guy some money. Go out and buy his book. Show BiggerPockets some love so we can get this guy to write a third book for BiggerPockets. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
One of the most common questions I get is, what title company do I use? What title company am I using in Arizona, Atlanta, California, Texas, whatever? The answer for many years was a different title company in every state, because not every state handles transactions the same way. Now, the answer is one title company. It's Creative Title and Escrow. Go to getcreativetitle.com/podcast. You can learn how they will do SubTo deals, seller finance deals, cash transactions, gator deals, double close, transactional lending, whatever, even novation agreements. There's really nothing that Creative Title and Escrow can't do. To learn how brand new investors are using Creative Title all the way up to the biggest players in the industry, head over to getcreativetitle.com/podcast.